Hey guys, it is NCS Fan 001 here for another one of those weekly trophy list update videos. Today's date is Monday, December 19th, 2022. So this will have covered the week of December 12th through the 18th of 2022. I am very happy with the progress I made this week. I obtained 3 platinum trophies and managed to clean up 2 old games to 100%. Hopefully both of them forever, knocking on my wooden table here. I accidentally hit the circle button while doing that. So anyway, this week in terms of trophies, the first one I obtained, or first one I finished, was Conan Exiles. I went back and finally suffered through the Isle of whatever it's called DLC. This game is awful. I forgot just how bad it was, and this DLC definitely brought back the memories of just how awful this game actually is. From a technological standpoint, the game is a mess. Like, it lags constantly. It constantly looks like it's going to crash. It's just not a good game in the slightest. I mean, I don't know if it would be any fun if you played it in co-op. I just don't really see it being fun with how broken it is. The one saving grace to this game is that it has an admin panel that you can enable, and you can grab all your trophies that way. So back in the Platinum Trophy days, I barely even remember this because I did it, over 2.5 years ago. So you had to reach level 60, but I think you could just give yourself level ups from the admin panel, and that's what you were supposed to do. You had to get a dedicated weapon, which I guess you could just spawn it probably. You had to build a building. You had to sleep on a bedroll. You had to use a religious altar. I think with all of these, you could pretty much just spawn them and use them. For this one, I think you had to both spawn the enemy and the wheel and force them into it or something. I don't really remember what that one is. These are all just bosses that you have to kill, but the nice thing was with all of them, you could just spawn them in with the admin panel, I believe. And you could also enable God mode, so that was really nice, which allowed you to get this trophy no problem. You could just jump from any high point and you wouldn't have to worry about dying. You had to reach these different areas of the game, which you could do by using the flight in-game, as well as the fast travel system, as well as complete the first journey, or the first chapter, which was basically just, complete all the tasks from the first chapter, which is spawn in and, kill an enemy and sleep and eat, so a bunch of basic things like that. Finally, though, there is this one trophy, the Tower of the Elephant, which is a multiplayer trophy. You did have to have another player around to be able to do this. So you had to have another character spawn in, you'd have to have them stand below you, and you'd have to jump down and land on their head to kill them. So that was kind of dumb that they would put in that kind of a co-op trophy. But again, thankfully the game has an admin panel. So back when the game, back when I did this Platinum Trophy, the game had been out with the admin panel for quite a while. And for a long time, it seemed like nothing else was going to ever happen with this game in terms of, trophies. The game was getting DLCs, don't get me wrong, but never anything with trophies. However, at some point in, I think it was 2021, they randomly released a DLC that also had trophies tied to it. That being the Maelstrom DLC, or the Isle of Sirta, whatever it's called, DLC. So for some stupid reason, they thought it was acceptable to go several years of DLCs with no trophies, and then randomly released a completely overpriced, it's a $20 DLC pack, that randomly had a trophy list in it. So clearly it was just an attempt to milk us trophy hunters and screw with trophy hunters specifically, just to randomly put in trophies after all that time. And I really hope and pray they don't do another one that has trophies. Apparently this is the only one that has achievements with Steam and Xbox, but you never know with these games, because Far Cry 6 put in a random ass DLC all this time later. So for this DLC, thankfully you can use the admin panel once again, which is going to make all the trophies noticeably easier than they would have been. However, this DLC takes way longer than the base game does, and I'll show you guys why on here. So you have to explore a vault, which you just go to a specific part of the map to do that. Same with visiting a ley shrine, just teleport to a certain part of the map. The Maelstrom is kind of random. There's certain ways to speed it up, but I was lucky enough just to have it pretty much spawn naturally while I was going for the last trophy I needed. Reaching the tower, that's another location-specific trophy. The sigil, there is a trophy for having 7 of them. For this one, you can just spawn in all of the 7 sigils from the admin panel, so you don't have to worry. So that makes that a lot easier. The Surge summons, you actually can't do this the same way that you used to. You have to go to one of the shrines and activate it and call in the enemies and then kill the enemies that spawn outside of it to make this work nowadays. We're going to skip this trophy for now. Then you have to craft an item out of Eldarium, which is very easy if you're just, following a guide. You have to obtain this item, which you can just spawn in from the admin panel. This has to do with that Storm Surge thing. You go to a shrine and you summon like the most powerful version, which you're going to want to follow either video or text guide for each of these individual trophies, just because some of them are like a little bit more complicated this time around than just spawning in materials or going somewhere. But the worst trophy by far in this DLC is for exploring the entire island. Now, this is not a small DLC. There is a lot to see and do here. There are probably over 50 locations, and you can fast travel to each of them, but the problem is the game is so technologically inferior to other games that it takes absolutely forever just to fast travel from one location to another. And with the amount of locations and the waiting period for every time you want to fast travel, it just makes this trophy take way longer than it has any right to. Sometimes the game doesn't take as long to move you from location to location with fast travel, and sometimes it takes well over a minute on the loading screen just to get somewhere, which is absolutely horrendous. Not to mention that the guides for this are often incomplete. There's like 3 locations that are not always shown. Like there's one location that is marked in black on the in-game map for some reason. It's sort of on the left side of it. It's a location. It's between a couple other locations, but it's on the left side of the map, and it's marked in black for some reason. So you might not even see it on some of the collectible maps out there. Then there's another one that isn't marked on some of the maps. It's on the lower island on the left side of it. I can't remember what it's called. It starts with a D. It's only one word. But there's that one. And then there's even another one after that that's really hard to get to because it's not shown on like any of the maps. It took me forever to find even a single map that showed it. I don't remember what it was called either, but it's on like the little tip at the bottom of the map. So like on one of those 2 bottom islands, there's like a little tip that juts out from the bottom of it, and the last location is right there. So if you can't get the trophy to unlock, double check those 3 locations as well as all of the other ones. But this one trophy in particular took like 3 hours of traveling around the map, with most of that time being the fast travel menu because it takes so long to do anything. So that's really the main reason it took so long. Maybe if it was on the PS5 it would play better, but I was playing it on the PS4. But yeah, just overall a completely miserable experience. I did not enjoy this at all, and I don't understand why, again, they thought it was necessary to release this DLC with trophies. I'm still very unhappy about that. But it is finally done, and we're going to hope and pray and knock on this wooden table again that we don't get another DLC for this game, because I really don't want to suffer through that again. Not to mention, the game's like over 100 gigs, so it takes up a massive chunk of your hard drive on whatever console you're playing it on, which is so freaking stupid. Next up, I finished off Far Cry 6 because it got another piece of DLC. Now, this time around, I'm actually very confident in saying that this is the last piece of DLC for the game, because when you beat it, you get like a semi-heartfelt message from the developers that states, thank you guys for playing this. We spent years working on it. It was a big combined effort, and until the next time. Or like until the next game or something is the last line it says. So that pretty clearly indicates that they are done with this game and preparing to release another one, which would make sense. It'll probably release in 2023 because we're already at the end of 2022, and this franchise usually releases about every other year. So we'll probably get our next game in 2023. I don't know if it'll be Far Cry 7 specifically, or if it'll be another spin-off type of game, but we'll have to see. So I guess we can talk about all the trophies here. So back with the Platinum Trophy, you had to customize your look, which is the first trophy you get in the game. You have to get the secret ending by just driving or flying off the side of the map. You get a few story-related trophies, but not very many. You have to capture a base without being detected, and if they say solo only, you can only get them in solo, quite clearly. You have to capture a base with a co-op partner. It's the only true multiplayer trophy in the game, but there are other online, technically, trophies in it. You have to capture all the bases, which is, your typical capture all the outpost trophies. You have to return 3 resource vehicles in mint condition. What you can do is when you get close to getting them to your location, just jump out and use the repair tool to fix them. You have to capture 10 of the very large number of checkpoints in the world. You have to blow up 16 anti-aircraft cannons. I think there's like 20 total. You have to intercept 10 of the military supply drops. I want to say there's like 15 to 20 of them. You have to complete this specific series of side quests, as it'll get you one of your Supremos. And I believe it gets you one of your allies as well, one of your followers, your guns for hire or fangs for hire in this case. You have to win a cockfighting match, which is a mini game. The Grand Premios or races, there's 12 of them. You just have to do 3 of them. You have to win a game of dominoes. That's another mini game. You have to complete a single special operation. We'll talk about those later. You have to complete 5 Bandito operations, which are sort of timed events that require an online connection, but not any actual online gameplay. You just send your people out to do them, and then you go back and check on them every now and then and do objectives to finish them. Machete kill from a horse is pretty easy. That shouldn't be a problem. Discover 49 unique weapons. That's just a collectible type. So there are a lot of weapons to find, but you can just follow a collectible guide for them. You have to fully upgrade all of the camp facilities at all of the guerrilla camps, which just requires you to have certain materials to upgrade them with. You have to acquire the 7 Supremos. Most of them are natural or purchased, but one of them requires you to complete those side quests. You have to purchase meals, which requires you to have meat to trade to the kitchen. You have to find 15 USB sticks, cryptogramma chests, and the 4 different rides, which are all just collectible types. Same with the roosters, but there's more of those. There's a total of 7 amigos if you include the ones from Ubisoft Connect. But this one wants you to collect the 5 that are available with the main game. So, again, not too difficult if you just check a collectible guide for everything. Pet Guapo, he's the crocodile. That's pretty self-explanatory. And you should do that. You must pet the cute little crocodile. You have to equip Chikaron with the Mother Clucker outfit. He's another follower that you can get. Chorizo is the dog that's missing his back legs. You have to distract 10 soldiers using him. It all just depends on how long it takes you to get these followers. You get Guapo right at the beginning of the game, but these two, you might not get them until a little bit later in the game. You have to take out 10 soldiers while in active heat. This one's unmissable. You have to take out a shark with an explosion. They're not particularly common. You can find them in some of the waters and occasionally in a swimming pool. You have to catch a total of 10 fish, which is very easy. It doesn't have to be any specific sized fish or anything. This one requires you to have like a certain mod on your clothing to be able to sabotage the alarm and then trick a soldier into running into it and trying to disarm it, or trying to activate it, I mean. The insurgencies are events that occur after you beat the main story. Once you've beaten the main story, you're going to have a weekly insurgency event, and it requires you to retake locations that the Yaren military people have managed to take over. You have to take out several locations across the map, and you have to complete a special operation. Then you have to go to one other marked location to kill the insurgent leader. Thankfully, this one can actually be exploited. You don't have to do 3 weeks of it. You can kill the insurgent leader, then fail the objective, like die or fail or something like that, and then redo the final part of the insurgency, kill the target again. You might have to do it more than 3 times to make it work in this method, but it does speed the process up a lot. Special Forces soldiers, this one's basically unmissable while beating the game. This one, just use an EMP to disable a tank and then jump on it and take it over. For this one, the mythical animals, there's like 4 or 5 of them. This one you can only do by sliding down like a certain hill. This one's pretty self-explanatory and may come naturally. This one is a little bit tougher to get. You have to use a security control console within an outpost that has one. And when you find an outpost that has one, you have to activate this before they set off any of the alarms. For this one, you can do this with a sniper rifle, you can do this with a rocket launcher, you can do this sort of with whatever weapon you want while parachuting is the easiest way to do it, or by sniping someone from a high building. You have to use poison soldiers to kill 5 other enemies. You do this by poisoning them with, poisoned ammunition and explosives. Full matching gear set is unmissable. You'll get it during the final main story mission. Install a bunch of mods on a resolver weapon. You'll need gunpowder and Supremo bonds to do it, which you'll mostly get through the Banditos missions. The camp facilities, already talked about that. Install 10 parts on a ride. This one requires you to do certain tasks, like you have to win some races to be able to get the pieces for it. And you also have to, or you can also get some from doing the Bandito missions. Reach the rank of Commandant, that's going to be unmissable while going for the Platinum. Then we have the Special Operations. The Special Operations are effectively the expeditions from Far Cry New Dawn, but they're way worse in every way because every single one is the exact same thing but in a different setting. The ones in New Dawn were well made because, one, they were still completely doable solo without a major difficulty spike. They were fair. And secondly, they were actually each very unique in very unique settings. These operations are all basically the exact same thing. All you do is run to the other side of the map, pick up a nuclear battery, carry it back to the starting area while constantly dousing it in water so it doesn't explode, and then defending against a bunch of enemies. And that's literally all it is every single time. So you can only do this by doing it on the easiest difficulty is the only way you're going to get this one. This one, I think you need to find like a key to be able to do it, and then you take the key to the Maneater chest and open it. And then finally, you have to free 30 hostages, but you can only do this if you do it on the second lowest difficulty or higher than that, and you can only get 3 hostages per mission, so it's going to require at least 10 playthroughs. Wonderful choice there, because again, I do not like the special operations. There are 5 of them total, and unfortunately they released 2 DLCs, actually requiring players to complete them on Mastery Level 3. These 3 are much harder than the last 2. These 2 are actually really not that hard. Los Santos is like the easiest one from what I remember, and Puerto del Eden is also pretty easy. But it's these 3 that are a real problem just because they're really badly designed once again. It was not a fun time. You need to have a very, very specific gear setup, and generally it's much easier to do them in co-op if you can find a partner to play through them with you. But it's just not a fun time. I still don't understand why they felt the need to make such a big deal about their Spec Ops mode that was so poorly made. But what was not poorly made was the next 3 DLCs. These were the Become the Villain DLCs, and these were actually really good, especially the Voss ones. The gameplay does get a little bit repetitive, but these were at least reasonably interesting, and the final cutscenes you get in them, especially the Voss and the Pagan Min ones, are really, really good. So each DLC has a very similar set of trophies. You have to escape the mind of the character, which is beating the story your first time. You have to escape with a certain score, which you'll get naturally based on the last trophy. You have to be carrying at least 8,000 of the currency at any one time, which is pretty easy. You have to discover every location. You have to unlock all of the weapons in every DLC, so you have to purchase all of the weapons, which takes a little while to do. You have to collect all of the diary pages, chibis, and visions, which are all collectible types. Some of them are highly missable to where you'll have to potentially do multiple playthroughs to get them all, but they do carry over between playthroughs, so you can get them all over the course of multiple runs, which is kind of nice. Then each DLC has something different for this trophy. For Voss, it's fully upgrading all of the weapons cases. For Pagan Min, it's having 8 powers equipped at once, which is the easiest of the 3 DLCs because it's the cheapest and therefore takes the least amount of time. And for Joseph, it is you have to purchase everything in the mirror, which is also pretty time-consuming, but I think you got more money in that DLC, or penance as it's called. The final trophy in each DLC, though, is for escaping at Mind Level 5. At first, this seems pretty difficult, but for one, you don't have to complete all 20 waves of the survival at the end, you just have to complete 5. And secondly, once you realize that just fully upgrading the starting pistol makes it really easy, especially to get through the Voss and Pagan Min DLCs. I want to say the Joseph Seed DLC actually has other good weapons, though, that you can use. I just did them all with a pistol. So if you use just the fully upgraded starting pistol, you should be able to get through all of these without too many issues. Because if you die in any of these DLCs, you'll keep certain things, like your certain ambient upgrades, but you will lose all the weapons you're carrying and the upgrades that you're carrying and stuff. You also want to have a couple of 1-ups, so extra lives along with each of these when you're on mine level 5. But the new DLC we got is Lost Between Worlds, and this DLC did not need to be made. No one was really expecting it to be made, and it's not very good. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's better than some of the DLC in Far Cry 5, but it's really not necessary and not really all that good. Basically, you play through a series of rifts, which are each like a unique, different gameplay aspect. Like one of them is a Maze Runner style maze where walls shift and you have to kill enemies and stuff and escape it. Another one, you have lightning striking constantly and you have to stand in safe zones to not get killed by it. Another one is full of highly toxic water everywhere. Stuff like that. But at the end of each one, when you get to the shard puzzle, which is like the ending of each one, those are rather obnoxious sometimes because like one of them is identical to the whole carry the battery to safe points where you can have it cool off. It's identical to that in gameplay. Then there's another one that is just like that, except you have to stand next to large pillars and make them blow up to do it. And then there's another one where the area is just so dark you literally can't see in front of you or where you're going, which is just really stupid even if you have your brightness all the way up. But for the trophies, they're all actually pretty easy, which is nice. Because this is I would definitely say this is the easiest of all the DLCs in this game, because you can play it on the easiest difficulty. So these are both story-related trophies. You have to go through all of the different rifts in order to get the 5 different shards, and that will trigger a boss fight, which will unlock this trophy when you beat it. This is also a story-related trophy that you'll get upon completing the first sort of hub area. Then you have to complete 5 rifts in a row without respawning, so 5 without dying. This one will come naturally while you're playing this because it's kind of tough to die if you're playing on the easiest difficulty, unless you're just really not paying attention. You have to complete a run from the Fractured Fortress through to collecting your shard within 15 minutes. This one's not too hard. There's certain paths you can do to do it. You can do the maze, then you go to the lightning one. Then you go to, I think it's the darkness one, where it's like you have to kill enemies in order to keep the timer going. The sun is the timer in that one or something. And then you go to a specific shard at the end to be able to do it. You have to kill 25 enemies using gadgets, which is very easy. It carries over between playthroughs. You have to take out 10 enemies with melee attacks in a single run of the maze, which is pretty easy because the melee is quite powerful. You have to swim down to a very deep depth in Sunken Esperanza. There's only like one place where you can do it at, so you might want to look at a guide or a video for it. 20 enemies in one run of Death by Darkness. That's the one where you have to keep killing enemies to keep the timer going. This one's pretty easy, though. You'll probably get this one naturally when you go to that rift. You have to blow up 30 units as Faye in Commandant Faye. In that one, you take control of Faye, which is the little robot thing, and it sets up bombs for you. I don't know if you have to do this in a single run or if you can do it over the course of multiple. Color combat is... I don't really remember what this one was. It was really weird. But with this one, you just have to complete it without your health falling to a critical level, which shouldn't be a problem if you're playing on easy. So overall, this game ended up with a grand total of exactly 100 trophies, including the Platinum, which is... that is a lot of trophies, you know? That is quite a bit for a game these days that isn't like Train Sim World 2 or something. Hopefully, once again, it is the end of Far Cry 6, but I think it is, because, like I said, the ending cutscene makes it really look like they're just going to look forward to the next entry in the franchise. So that's good. This was a decent way to go out because, again, the DLC was at least easy and it was something definitely different. I'm trying to figure out if it's supposed to be a setup for the next Far Cry game, if the next one's going to have to do with like an alien invasion. I could definitely see that happening, actually. Next up, we have Maneater. This is the PS5 version, and I auto-popped it because the game originally had a lot of problems with trophies, like not unlocking properly and the auto-pop not working properly. And the PS5 DLC was super, super broken early on. So was the PS4 version at one point after a patch. But it seems that they have finally fixed everything, so you can now play the game in its, I guess, best form. I mean, the game had Deep Silver's name on it, so I guess I'm really not that surprised. If you guys know my experiences with Homefront The Revolution, you know my feelings on Deep Silver. But anyway, the base game, the Platinum Trophy, was always pretty easy. I believe that everything through here was a story-related trophy, as was Evolving for your first time. To do all the evolutions, I think you just had to complete a bunch of, like, miscellaneous tasks and also have... Or, no, I think you also had to have, like, a lot of materials to upgrade with from eating different types of fish and humans. You had to complete every objective in each area of the game, which was, like, completing the story missions. There might have been a couple of side missions, but you also had to find all of the collectibles and kill the Apex Predator in each location, which is our next set of trophies. You just had to kill all of the Apex Predators throughout the game. You also had to do these 2 survival trophies. These are both story-related trophies that are unmissable. The nutrient caches, the license plates, and the landmarks are all collectible types that are in each area of the game, so those all contribute to that 100% of objectives in each area. Finally, you have to reach Infamy Level 1 and Infamy Level 10. Now, for these, you basically just have to keep on killing humans repeatedly and making like a lot of noise and combat happening. And once you do enough of it, you'll actually like have people come and specifically try to hunt you down, and that's where the infamy level comes from. Now, these are the only 2 trophies that didn't auto-pop, but it appears that the only reason they didn't auto-pop is because I was inside of the DLC world, because as soon as I traveled back to the main world, both trophies popped, as well as the platinum. So if you're trying to get a 1-second auto-pop platinum here, then make sure that your save that you upload has you in the main game overworld, in the main area. So otherwise, they did auto-pop after I traveled back, so I was thankful that that ended up working. Then for Truth Quest, this is the DLC that released. I don't think... Well, actually, I know they're not going to do any DLCs because this one was such a mess that they decided not to do any more of them. So you have 2 story-related trophies here for, starting the DLC and beating the DLC. Or this might have been like the infamy level within the DLC that you had to kill this guy. You had to reach level 40, which was pretty much unmissable while doing everything else. You had to fully complete the new evolution set. You had to complete all the objectives in the complex, as well as all the new objectives within the main world, which is mostly the questers, which we'll get to in a second. You have to kill 4 bosses throughout the DLC that spawn in different areas. I think they're a little bit random on spawning, and some of them are a little bit tougher to kill, mainly the Leviathan. That might have actually been the final boss or something. Actually, you know what? From what I remember, I think that these were the 4 story bosses, and this guy up here was like the infamy rank for this area, because it was like a separate infamy level. The questers are characters, specific human characters that spawn in the main world in various places. And then you have to complete all the time trials, which isn't too hard once you give your shark the proper upgrades and the proper evolutions to do it. So this was, of course, a really fun game on PS4. I just wish that it worked a little bit better. Because it had a lot of technical problems on the PS4, and it didn't look like it was playing all that much better on the PS5, but maybe that was just me. But yeah, that's Maneater. Auto-pop the Platinum. Just didn't want to worry about the bugs and stuff like that from, doing the game a full second time. Next up, we have the North American PS5 version of Sinuca Attack. This is an East Asia soft puzzle game where you hit billiards balls into switches to complete levels. Thankfully, this Platinum Trophy is very, very easy, and the game is not bad at all. Definitely one that's worth playing, especially if you can get it on sale. So you have to hit balls a total of 40 times, which is pretty much unmissable while going for the other trophies. If for some reason you didn't, you could just go into any level and obviously just keep whacking a pool ball over and over again until you get the trophy. You have to hit 12 total switches, which is unmissable. You're going to get this before you complete the final level that you need to for trophies. And then as for levels, you have to complete a grand total of 12 levels. So you have to complete the first 12 levels. A couple of them can be just a little bit trickier while the controls are, a little bit tougher to get used to. But there's nothing difficult at all about completing 12 levels. Because, they're all just super, super simple. The solutions are right there in front of you. Just hit the switches and send the balls to the correct location and you'll get everything. There's not really much more else to say about this game. Again, it's a pretty decent little East Asia soft game. It took me about 12 minutes to get the platinum. You could definitely do it faster though, because I screwed up a few times on a few levels. So you can definitely do this one in under 10 minutes if you're actually moving quickly and know what you're doing. Finally, I obtained the Platinum Trophy, the North American PS5 version of Many Faces. This is another decent little East Asia soft game. It's kind of twin-stick shootery to where you use the right control stick to aim and the R2 to shoot, but it's in 2D. For the Platinum Trophy, you have to complete the tutorial, which is recommended so you learn how to play the game. You have to collect a single hat, which is pretty much unmissable. You'll get this after finishing stage 1. You have to kill a grand total of 48 enemies, but this can be done over multiple playthroughs. You have to collect a grand total of 10 hearts. Again, this can be done over the course of multiple playthroughs. But basically what you want to do is, on your playthrough, you want to complete the first 3 stages to get these 3 trophies. Then you want to kill the boss on stage 4. No matter what that boss is, just kill him and you'll get a trophy. As soon as you do that, pause and return to the main menu and recomplete the first 4 stages. Upon recompleting the first 4 stages, you will get the second boss trophy, and by that point you should have every other trophy except for maybe the 10 hearts and the 48 enemy kills. You probably won't have the 48 enemy kills yet, but you will get that one naturally while beating a third boss. So you have to beat bosses a total of 3 times. So basically just complete the first 4 levels 3 different times and you will have your Platinum Trophy. The game is a little bit random, a little bit luck-based at times because it is procedurally randomly generated levels. There's 50 different layouts you can get, and you never know what kind of enemies you're going to get. You never know which boss you're going to get or on what layout you're going to get your boss fight. It did take me 2 tries to get my 3rd boss kill because I actually died because I just had an awful layout to deal with and didn't have a very good hat. Because the hats will give you different power-ups, like one of them gives you an extra heart, one of them gives you an extra life if you die, one of them, makes your fire rate faster but lowers your damage, one of them gives you a super powerful weapon but it uses your health as ammunition, stuff like that. So it's a creative little game, and it's not a bad game at all. It's a pretty easy Platinum Trophy. I put it at a 2 out of 10. You can get this Platinum Trophy in 15 minutes if you're a little bit better at the game than I am. It took me about 17-ish minutes to get the Platinum, but again, I definitely could have done it a little bit faster. But yeah, this is another one that I would say is well worth playing if you can get it, especially on a discount, because with both of these games, I was able to buy them for $2 instead of their typical $5 price tag, because they are not cross-buy, despite the fact that I did the PS4 North American versions of them a while back. So, that is all the trophies I earned for this week, so let's go ahead and sync up. This is actually going to be a pretty good length video, I think. So, level 807, 30%, 24,779 total trophies, 671 platinums, 4,286 golds, 6,571 silvers, 13,251 bronzes. Plans for the upcoming week. So when it comes to getting trophies, I now only have 7 incomplete games left on my profile. Those being Uncharted 3, Hasbro Family Game Night, and Homefront. All of those I can't get the 100% in, obviously. But otherwise, I also have GTA 5, Outer Worlds, COD Classic, and Shadow of the Colossus. I don't think my plans for Uncharted 3 are quite going to work out because I never actually owned the digital version of the game. I thought I did, but I apparently did not. I only ever owned the disc version of the game. So when I go home for Christmas, I need to go find my disc for that game, or I'm going to have to just buy a copy, which it's not expensive. The problem is I've been trying to buy the Game of the Year edition on PSN, but I cannot add I cannot add funds to my wallet from the computer or from my phone for some reason. I can only add funds when I'm actually buying an item, but you can't add funds anymore when you're on the PS3 or the Vita stores, which is really, really weird. I don't know why that's happening. I don't know if I'm just missing a setting somewhere, but it's not letting me. I mean, it renews my settings and everything just fine, and I can purchase just fine from the consoles, but I can't just individually add funds, because I'd like to just go ahead and add the money and, go ahead and download Uncharted 3, because I have all the DLCs, and do the last, 4 or 5 trophies that I know I can get. So that is probably going to get pushed back until after Christmas, once I get a copy of the game that actually, works, unless I can get the payment system working properly. So, yeah, do keep that in mind that one's getting pushed back a little bit. Otherwise, though, I might start the Division 2 this week, but I'm not entirely sure, because I am going to be going home for Christmas on Thursday. That's the current plan, is to leave on Thursday, go home, and, spend Christmas with family. I'm off on Friday and next Monday. So the next trophy update will probably be on the Tuesday after Christmas, unless I get back in time to be able to record the video and upload it on that Monday. It probably won't be a very long one, because there probably won't be much trophy progress. I don't know which console I'm going to bring home. I'm sure I'll bring home one of them, but I don't know which one yet. So it probably won't be a whole lot of trophy progress this week. Maybe grab a couple easy platinums, maybe start on the Division, but we'll have to see. Or the Division 2, I mean. So bringing it back for the bingo card or the drinking game, whatever you guys are doing with that. It's so weird not mentioning the Division 1 anymore. And then someday I'll finish the Division 2 and never have to mention this entire franchise ever again, most likely. Because I don't think they're doing a Division 3, but I think they're doing like a spin-off Division type of game that I'm not sure I'm going to do, if it's going to be anything like Rainbow Six Extraction is the name of it. That game just didn't really look like it was that appealing to me. But yeah, then the current plans are January. We go back and finally start working on GTA 5, the last online game I have to go back and clean up, as well as possibly Dead Island Riptide. February, Outer Worlds. March and beyond, COD Classic, Shadow of the Colossus, and my other old games. I have a couple that are down. The main ones I have downloaded, there's some visual novel game I have on PS3, Master Reboot on PS3, and Okami on PS3. So those are the only downloaded ones I have that I still am intending to do at some point on there. But, yeah, so I think that's going to be it for this video, guys. Please like, favorite, share, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell if you haven't already. As for upload schedules this week, there probably will not be a stream this week unless I try to sneak one in on Wednesday, but we will have to see about all that. I am starting to upload the vlogs from Aruba, so I should have those done within another couple of weeks. They're all pretty small file sizes because I recorded everything on my phone this time, so shouldn't be too hard to publish some more of those probably right around Christmas. And then, of course, probably get at least one Platinum Trophy video up this week, maybe multiple, because, got to work through that backlog. I've got a lot of videos saved up within that folder that we can upload at some point. But, yeah, guys, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys later this week for some more videos. Don't know about streams, but we will have to see. So, see you guys then.